Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 2, Episode 8, King Pascal. Is it just me? Like, is it just me? Am I just, like, a dour, humorless, vacuous hole of not being able to enjoy this show? Like, okay, stop me if you've heard this one before, okay? You know what? Actually, hang on. We'll use you, because you're green, and you should show up well against my blue and black. Hi, this is Bobina, okay? Bobina is here, and she doesn't feel particularly liked because of blank. Blank doesn't matter. But there's something that's bothering her about blank. And all her friends constantly hit the point about blank the whole episode. So she wanders over, and she counters a situation where all of a sudden she's being celebrated for all the blank. Yes, at long last she gets the recognition she wants and deserves, and she feels happy, but it turns out all is not what it appeared. In fact, there are hidden costs to her suddenly getting whatever it is she was missing. And then so she reaches back out to her friends and says, "I'm sorry, I wanted to be your friends the entire time." And the friends say, "We're sorry too." And then they beat the bad guys the end. This is an extremely well-trod formula, and I don't like to use the phrase formulaic because there's nothing wrong with formulas. See Arcane for a good example of that. But this might actually be the most formulaic episode I've seen on this show so far. It got to the point where I could predict every single scene immediately before it happened. And I know that's not bragging. It's just literally, it was so by the numbers that it was like, oh, okay. And this is the scene where this is going to happen. Yep. And then this is the scene where this is going to happen. Yep. Formulas aren't necessarily bad. Execution is everything. But this... what is this? Why is this here? Was this a mandated episode? Did someone think this is clever? Did someone think this is a good message show? Did someone copy-paste someone else's script and fill in a few blanks? Like, I don't even know how to properly explain the nonsense that is required for them to even reach this island to begin with. Because they wanted them to be on an island. On this journey, this land trek across France, they wanted them to be on an abandoned tropical island where a bunch of people spoke German. That was someone somewhere said, "This must be." Let's talk about the episode proper, although there's not much to say. So first of all, the caravan can sail now. That is probably the biggest thing, the biggest variant thing I've seen this entire season so far. You know, I've been pointing out how certain things would make sense if it was Varian. This has Varian written all over it. This is the kind of thing where he should have had just a line of establishing dialogue where he's like, "Yeah, no, it wasn't that hard to convert into a boat." Instead, Eugene says that. Also, Rapunzel, weirdly enough, knows all kinds of nautical things, uses correct terminology even. How many of you actually know any of the phrases she uses in this? She even correctly points out that it's a 45-degree angle in order to hit a wave as the safest way to weather a storm. That's true, by the way. Yeah, she's a book nerd. That's cool. It should have been Varian, is the point I'm trying to make. You cannot tell me, like, I'm not saying it's bad that it's Rapunzel. I'm saying this was Varian's spot in this episode. He was the one who converted the ship and then told everyone how to deal with the weather when it showed up. At the very least, I could buy him building the ship, and then she's the one who knows how to deal with the weather. I could at least buy that. But either way, moving on. So then the ship is destroyed in, like, 2 minutes. Just bam, gone. And now they're stranded on a deserted island, which regularly gets ferry. Interesting that they front load that, by the way. It's probably one of the best bits of the entire episode. I know that sounds strange, because they ensure that the audience watching, especially the kids watching, knows this is not a deserted island situation. This is an island that regularly gets visitors, and in fact, there is going to be a rescue coming. There's no question mark here. There's no will anyone ever find us. Someone's showing up at some point. So we now have like a guaranteed end point for being on the island. Okay, I'm actually with that. So then they change outfits to accommodate for their beach status, and there's your new merch, is the new outfits for them and the beach. By the way, just because I was really, really bored during this episode, I decided to go looking up Tangled the Show merch. They didn't produce like any. And I find myself once again staring at whichever executive somewhere decided to sabotage this show, because let's be clear, someone sabotaged this show. And I wonder if they also decided to just kind of put the kibosh on doing any kind of merch sales for this show. Because the show is very clearly structured to be designed towards merch sales. I mean, right? I've been pointing it out as we go. Even the freaking caravan now has a boat form. There's another toy that you can buy, for God's sakes, or another playset. They even have the new dollhouse in this very episode. Right? So 100, like this episode by itself has, I'd say, a bare minimum 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say 5 new toys at an absolute minimum, probably closer to 7, because you want to merchandise on those cute little dudes, obviously the Koroks, right? But no merch doesn't exist. I couldn't find it. They probably exist somewhere, but maybe they didn't actually make it. And that's the weird thing, is it feels like it's not just the fact that they didn't sell it, it's like they didn't make it at all to sell, which is even more confusing. Even Cassandra got a new outfit. She doesn't tend to get new outfits. I want to find that producer and slug him, you know? Just right across the jaw, right there. Nothing fancy, just a nice slug right across the jawline. Just, you know, just kill him. Thank you, Justin, very, very much, as ever and as always, for your support and for 6 years of support. God. I mean, it's sort of past the point where it weirds me out anymore, you know what I mean? I've been doing this for 13 years. As of this month, as of like 2 weeks from now, this will be my 13th year anniversary of doing this show. So the Trek stuff on the Rumination thing is going to be filled out bit by bit. I'm just doing it for the document. It's honestly more or less just for me, because I like things being categorized and organized. But that's why I make the document public for anybody else who's interested. Having said that, that is absolutely something that I am going to try and show and fill out as I go. I don't want to take... I want to take my time with that, because I'm going to be like re-examining the episodes. I'm going to be consulting other people of their opinions. You know, I like to have... I like to have peer review when it comes to review, so I want other people to give their input as well. So I will put that anniversary sub towards the Resident Evil block, FF16 and FF16. Wow. So I hate to tell you this, but I don't allow people to double up on things like that. It sort of defeats the point of the plural rating system if you just vote for the same thing 3 times. Because at that point, you're just cheating. Now, I'm afraid you have violated the law. Okay. Stranger of Paradise. Thank you again, Justin. Okay, so episode proper, right? They do the thing called the swapped fates, right? Here's Bob, here's Bobina. Bob's like, oh, Bobina, you're so punctual. And Bobina's like, oh, you're such a slob. But then they enter a new situation and they swap. And now this one's punctual and this one's a slob. It's the format. It's formulaic. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say. Oh, you're so cute. Doodle doodle doodle. Oh, you're so cute. Like, yeah, okay, cool. Everyone wants Pascal's help instead of nobody wanting his help. Everyone thinks they're cute instead of thinking he's cute. He's super big and competent as opposed to them being super big and competent. It's the swapped fates thing. It is interesting to see where all the lanterns showed up. I was actually really interested in them doing more with that, because all the lanterns from Corona end up here. Yes, do it, Mr. Red. Do it! Do it! Instead, they didn't do anything with that at all. It's just, hey, the lanterns showed up here, and also that's like how they formed their religion, I guess. Because they've been doing it for like 18 years, right? Yeah, the lanterns are building construction material, which is actually kind of cool, and they didn't do anything with that. Like, I was really looking forward to them delving into that more, and instead... Nope. Okay. So we find out that the fruity bell peppers are extremely spicy. Okay, cool. Pascal gives into the dark side. Rapunzel finds out what's happening. The locals try to warn them. There's this thing where they try to capture them, so they're interrupted. There's an obstacle on the way to trying to reconcile, but then they actually have the reconciliation. Then both sides agree to work together to defeat the bad guy, which they do with the pepper thing. The end. There's nothing here. One of the reasons I spent so much of the original part of this video talking about the very concepts of what this episode is because there's nothing here. In fact, point in case, this isn't even the first time we've done this type of episode in this show. There's a point at which they state the solution. Ah, he's eating the peppers. Yes, that just means we need to feed him this. Then they state it a second time. Then they show them actually coming up with the solution. Then the glorbs or whatever they are show up, and they then state the solution for a third time. Who wrote this? There's even... I know I'm coming down harsh on this episode, but I have to make this very, very clear. During the Trek lore run, as we've been going through Voyager, the Trek lore runny has been enjoying Voyager quite a lot, which is awesome. It's definitely more interesting to them, and the good episodes have been far more memorable than the bad, so that's always nice. But I bring all that up because they keep not noticing the music. And this has been a recurring theme. Every now and again, every few episodes, I'll specifically go out of my way to point out the music, and they will admit that they didn't even hear the music was there. The reason why, and this was deliberate intent, was because Rick Berman insisted all the music be as generic as possible. That it's completely unmemorable. Yeah, it's the wallpaper music thing. It is probably fundamentally one of the worst things about Voyager, is the total misuse of music, or more accurately, music direction. The songs themselves aren't really bad, but there's scenes where you can hear, like, I don't want to play it for you because I'd be super copy-wronged, but this exact episode does exactly the same thing I just mentioned. There's a scene where as soon as they have the big rejoinder, there's this extremely generic heroic music that plays directly out of the generic danger music that played immediately before it. And then after that is the tension music, dun, 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 and then it goes straight back into dun, 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 because they successfully did the thing. I actually feel like I've heard this exact same song like 5 times. I haven't, of course, that's not how that works, but that's my point. And again, I know I'm really digging here, but this episode in particular has some of the worst music direction I've seen in this entire show, most especially because of how much I noticed it. So, yeah. Small animation touches. This is a part of my notes that I've just been taking as we go. Every time something jumps out at me, there's this bit where Cassandra and Rapunzel jump off of a cliff. Cassandra immediately recovers. Jump, dong, and she's up. Rapunzel actually has to land, and it takes her a solid second before she's able to get back up to her feet. It's a nice little touch. Everything about actually eating the fire peppers, like the animation as she eats them and slowly starts to process the flavor and the spice and the heat, and really, really, really good facial animation on that. And of course, everything about the fly's eye views that they like to use, because if you notice, it's not actually a copy-pasted image. It's very, very close to it, but it's slightly different on the outer ends, which makes sense, because to my knowledge, that's how that kind of thing would work. Little touches. Lots of little good animation touches. Talk me up to green. Yeah, there's no oomph. This is not black territory. It's just It's Aquiel, you know? It's Aquiel. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. There's a dog, and then we move to the next scene, and then there's a dog, and then move to the next scene, and then there's the dog, and that's it. It's just yeah. Oh yeah, we have our asshole quote of the episode. Of course we do. Got to get that in there. Shorty was a dick too. Literally. Just knocks over a tree onto the house for no reason, just to break the house. That's just thanks Shorty. Thanks for continuing to be terrible. I'm sad that you didn't die at sea. You wouldn't call Aquiel blue? I don't know. I haven't rated it yet. In my mind, Aquiel is kind of the definitive blue, but I suppose we'll have to see when we get there. Like, that's when I think of blue, that's one of the first episodes that comes to my mind immediately. I suppose I could just look at half of season 1 of TNG. Jesus, look at that. We were really torn on Last Outpost. Because holy crap. The definitive lamentation? Threshold. Threshold basically invented the term lamentation. But I noticed nobody's actually talking me up to green. We know what that means. So, next episode. Yeah, Threshold. Threshold is an episode. I'm sorry to talk about anything other than this episode, but Threshold is the episode in which, and this is not a joke, we kept having to pause every few seconds because there was something else to rant about how terrible it was. And that continued until about the halfway point of the episode. That's not a joke. It's not an exaggeration. It's shocking how bad Threshold was, going back through it with a zoomed in lore run perspective. Holy crap. Wow. Next episode is Season 2, Episode 9, There's Something About Hookfoot. What do you want to bet they're still on the island? Bonus question. Would it be better if they're still on the island, or would it actually be worse if they're still on the island?